Namah Shivaya. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So I think we will follow the text pretty much. I think what I'll do is I will interrupt the sequence of reading the text from time to time to point out some important points that are much more general, conceptual, but then come back to a baseline of understanding the Shastra, understanding the text in the Shastra, particularly because this book is very well written and requires a lot of self-study on your part over the time to come. So I can point out exactly what needs to be done, and will spend enough time so that you have a good sense of it, but then it has to be completed with more study at your own time. And this is the value of having a text like this, because next time we have if we do have another retreat, we may not have a text like this. So this is something very unique, and I was just thinking about it today, that I want to really come back to a much more traditional understanding of each verse, so that you can, I may not be able to do the complete details of it, but at least you will have that in for the future. So with that, let's start with the first number verse itself. So I think what I will do is not spend the time in having you recite. You just listen to me for now, just to save the time, and then we'll go into the meaning, and that will become much more important. First one is Atha Ashvayalanaha Bhagavantam Parameshtinam Upasametya Uvacha Adhihi Bhagavo Brahma Vidyam Varishtam Sada Sadpihi Sevyamana Nam Nigudam Yaya Achirat Sarva Papam Vyapohya Parat Param Purusham Yati Vidwan. Let's look at the English meaning of that on page 32. Om, thereafter. So the word atha is a very important one. And what it represents thereafter is having done the preparation. So if you are not a graduate student, you probably will not be able to understand what is being said. So means having done all the courses. In life, what courses do we need to make? This we will see. Okay? But atha means thereafter. Thereafter means after preparation. So this person who approaches the Pitamaha is a very advanced person already. And so what that means is that if you and I need to be privy to such kind of a vidya, we also need to be advanced. And this is the very basis of the Bhagavad Gita. Because if you see how the Bhagavad Gita is done, is that the Arjuna is very unhappy. He's got a lot of problems and he doesn't know what to do, and he needs help. So Krishna assures him, listen, you are okay. You're just worried about, you're just making a mistake about yourself. You are okay the way you are. And let me explain to you what that means. Who are you? So he starts with the very basic in the second chapter. That the Atma doesn't lie, it doesn't die, you cannot die. All of that is given to it. And so Arjuna is now fascinated and said, "Oh, hey, that's wonderful. In fact, I want to just learn that. And I don't want to go through my duties of fighting and so on." His preparation has not been done yet. But he wants to learn. So Krishna says, has very politely but very firmly that, listen, I know, I'm very happy that you got a glimpse of this, but to really understand this fully, you need to be qualified. So Arjuna says, "Oh, I'm qualified because I am listening to you. You are the Ishvara. And what more do I need?" So Krishna has to think about that. I mean, Krishna has to tell him that. You have to be prepared. You know, this is what is said is that Krishna was the best friend of Arjuna. And if he really wanted to bless him so that he can be free, all he has to do is to put his hand on his head and say, "Om, you're okay." Doesn't do anything. The mind remains quiet for a few minutes and you feel very, very grateful that somebody has blessed you. You're back again to the same problems in your life. That means that the inner preparation is required. And so Krishna was trying to convey to him that you need some work to prepare your mind. That preparation of the mind is not accepted. I can tell you the same thing happened to me. It's not just this is not just idle talk. When I met Swamiji's and when I went to Piercy, I remember this so well. My goal was that I will be a Jivan Mukta because, you know, I had taken a big step of designing for my job and dragging my whole family for 2.5 years. And I was prepared to do, I think I'm doing a lot. And I think at the end of this, I'm going to just be completely free. Didn't happen. Didn't happen. Even though I got a very thorough understanding of what, this is kind of like Krishna first telling him about what is Atma, what is Anatma, all of that is done. So that was all clear to me. But in terms of my own personal happiness, it didn't happen immediately. It happened very gradually. And it requires a lot of work. That means my preparation was also not there. This I had not understood completely. And but this is what needs to be done. And so that is the very fundamental nature of jnanam, that unless you are a graduate student having taken all the courses, you cannot understand, even though this is the truth. So this is the meaning of the word atha. Atha means thereafter, means having done the preparation. Then the person approached him. So let's finish the English translation. Om, thereafter the sage Ashwayalana, Ashwayalana, Ashwaylayana, Ashwalayana, now I got it, Ashwalayana, approached Brahmaji, the revered grandsire, and said, "O Lord, please teach me Brahma Vidya, self-knowledge, which is the noblest and which is resorted to by the good people, which is the highest secret, and by knowing which the learned ones cross all problems before long and reach the highest Purusha." This is the meaning of the verse. So now let's look at the main ingredients of this verse. So what I think I will do as a general methodology, and I'm just hoping to do that, again, is to go back to the main subheads of this verse and then give you some glimpses on the importance of the subheads and then string together a narrative so that it looks very complete. It is very complete, but not detailed enough. And so you can fill in the details on your own. So let's start with the first subhead. The first subhead is Who is a renunciate on page 35? This is the first subhead. This I'm going to just follow the subheads. And the next subhead are connected. Emotional maturity, a prerequisite for renunciation. Okay, so these two. So, again the example of Arjuna. So, Arjuna was a very mature person because he was a good person. Usually a maturity requires goodness, because if you resort to not so good actions, that means you have some inner problems going on that are being expressed forward. And so that is an immaturity. And mature person is the one who is somewhat satisfied with life, but not completely. Because you cannot have complete satisfaction until you get Brahmavidya, as we have been talking about it, and we will do it again. So the emotional maturity and the renunciation. Renunciation, I think, is a bigger topic, and I think we will discuss it some other time. I can briefly mention it. Okay. So in the basic introduction to Vedanta, there are two important steps: Viveka and Vairagya. Renunciation means Vairagya. Viveka and Vairagya. So Viveka means the ability to know what is the truth and what appears to be the truth. To be able to distinguish between them is called Viveka. As we saw in our meditation and the other classes, I am able to I mix up the person with the role. So a renunciate is the one who is able to distinguish the role from the person. Vairagya is a confirmation of the Viveka. You see, Vairagya means that Viveka is understood. Is understood. It is not. It is not confused. The UR is something which is not. You are not going to go after something which is not true. It's not going to happen. So you need to know what is the truth, what is the non-truth. And so that is the confirmation. There's a couple of very interesting stories that come to my mind, and I'd like to talk about it, but I want to go on and not really get distracted too much. So the Vairagya at this point, very briefly, is your Viveka is not complete until you have Vairagya. This is what Swami Chinmanand used to say, that both the Viveka and Vairagya are the two wings of a bird. And if one of the wings is... this is a very fascinating thing, how Ishvara has made the constituents of a bird. The bird needs multiple wings. One wing doesn't do it. And so at a minimum you need two wings. And both are... Swami Chinmanand, that was one of his favorite sayings, that unless you have both Viveka and Vairagya, you cannot fly away from a sense of limitation. And so Vairagya is a confirmation of Viveka. You cannot say, yeah, I understand, but you still go after silly things. That's not Vairagya. So anyway, so that's one of the things, and that's all I'll talk about now. I'll get into more details on that later on. Then, emotional maturity, a prerequisite. Then I think we have already, the next subheading is, who is qualified to gain knowledge? And we've talked enough about it, and we will do some more. There is a line here on page 39. Again, I'm sorry that there is a change in the book. I wasn't aware of that. But in the older book, on the bottom, uh, the second paragraph, the end of the second graph, he says how Arjuna underwent a transformation from being a mumukshu to a jigyasu. This is a very important thing because that happened to me. I can just tell you that was in my life. I think I've already mentioned that to you, but I'll mention it here. What had happened was that when I met Swami Chinmayananji, I became really a mumukshu. I said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to study in my life. And my priorities changed, my focus changed, and I became very enthusiastic. And I want to, Moktumichuhu means that I want to understand this, I want to really do this. This is mumukshu. But what happened to me when I met Swami Dayanandji, he transformed me from a mumukshu to a jigyasu. Because I was not sure how I'm going to do this. Swami Chinmayananda used to come here for 1 week here, 1 week there, and his lectures were truly inspiring. You talk about a retreat like this, the retreats I attended with Swami Chinmayananji were amazing, captivating, very inspiring. You walk out and said, my goodness, this is what's going on in life. I want to really do this. But then he would go away. He would go away and then, I would study. I remember books like Bhajagovindam and this, that, or the other, and back to my own self, and then wait for him to come back again next year. When I met Swami Dayanandji, he said, my dear, what you need to do is to study it like a science, just like any other science. Same thing, if you want to understand the basics of the very subtle thing, you have to study, you have to qualify yourself, and that means, and this is what I tell many of the students, I think some of you also, and just this lady that, asked me that question last night. She says, I'm very, very impressed, I want to really do this, what should I do? And she's Hindi speaking, so I was telling her to get some books from Swami Akhandananda. And then she ventured, she said, is the Hindi very, very difficult? I had to tell her the truth. I said, yes, it is difficult Hindi. It's not Bazari Hindi. And I said, do you know Sanskrit? She says, not a word. I said, what you need to do is to study Sanskrit. And she was unhappy but ready to do it. She says, okay, I will. This is what happened to me. When I met Swami Dayanandji, he said, are you serious? I said, yes. He says, let me tell you, this is like a science. You have to study everything from start to end. Go from the basics, just like you have Biology 101. When you want to become a specialist, the first course you have to take is Biology 101. And you have to understand the language. See, this is a very important thing, really. There is a certain language that you have to understand. And the language that you understand has to be in the context of what you are learning. We talked about this in the Saturday class just recently. Because, take the word mouse. The word mouse, if you want to be a computer expert, has to be understood under the context of the computer technology. Otherwise you will think about these mice running around. It's not that. So it's a technical word that requires an introduction to the context under which you are studying. Comes under language. And it is very difficult to do that in English. It's not easy. But in vernacular languages, Sanskrit of course, but in vernacular languages, those words become very meaningful. And you need those words, the way that you think. So he told me, just the jigyasu, are you prepared to really study it from it? I said, yes. So that was really a transformation for me, and I did. And then, of course, as you know what happened, because how do I study it? I'm already married, I've got 2 kids, and that's where Pami was so gracious in agreeing to give up her life and come with me. And then I studied this. I think I tell everybody that I had 2 master's degrees before this course. This was by far the most difficult and most enjoyable. I studied, I think I hardly slept more than 4 or 5 hours. I would get up early in the morning, and then the study of Sanskrit was very difficult. But I did it. So jigyasu is this important thing. If you are really serious, it's not a casual thing. Because if it is casual, then your mistakes continue. If you want to really correct the mistake, you have to really understand where you're making a mistake. Because what happens is your mind is very clever. It's very clever. You tell your mind, I want to study. The mind says, well, let's have some fun. It says, I know fun will later, but I want to really study. So it says, okay, study. Okay, study. Then after a while it answers you. You say, what have you learned so far? You seem to be the same person. So it poses questions to you which you have to answer. And so you have to have Shraddha, you have to have commitment. This is all going to come in a minute. In fact, Shraddha Bhakti. So I'm actually just already at that point. I'm covering that already. So you need to silence your mind and says, just follow me, okay? Don't pose these questions. And slowly it seeps into you. It's not a good... And it only does if you are not prepared. If you are prepared... And so this is exactly what the Sudhakar's question was, that, I'm 85 years old, and what happens in this? So what happens is you keep on preparing, keep on preparing, keep on preparing. And if, God forbid, your body gives up, that preparation is not lost. And this is what happens in the case of Ramana Maharshi and so many other saints. In the very beginning, they just said, I don't have anything to do with worldly life. I want to focus on it. So this is all jigyasu, which requires commitment and a study until the vichara is ready to be done. And once the vichara is ready to be done, it doesn't take much time. It's very instantaneous. So we'll see all that. So anyway, so that's that. So that's on page 39. Then a very interesting subtopic on page 40, why should one go to a teacher? Because what is communicated in the first verse is, this very learned person approached a teacher. Why should one approach a teacher? This is exactly the problem we have. There's a lot of people who fail. I meet so many people who I ask them what they'll say. Nice to meet you. And so I said, what's your background? Well, I've been studying various books and so on. So I says, do you have a teacher? He says, no, I don't really have a teacher, but I'm just studying it on like that. Which is good, but it doesn't really do anything. You require a teacher. The question is, why do you require a teacher? It's a very brief answer, but all of that is given in here. You should read it in more detail. I'm going to say this over and over again, because I'm just going to give you the gist of what the main points are, and then have you really elaborate it for yourself. The reason that you need a teacher is we are born as a human being. So what the implication of that is that I take limitedness as real. There's nothing strange about it to me. The fact that I am imperfect, that I am here, not there, is normal. But what I want to do is to become a little bit more comfortable, bigger, more knowledgeable, but stay within the limits of limitation. I cannot visualize that my nature is total freedom already. I cannot do that. It's kind of like, we've given this example before. Supposing you are, so this is what is called Chidakasha. So Chidakasha means, Akasha means space, and Chidakasha means a space of consciousness. So suppose this space had consciousness. Just assume for a minute. When it comes to yourself, you don't have to assume you are the Chidakasha, as we will see. But for this example, let us just see that suppose the space has consciousness. It has a personality. Okay? So now that means that no matter what the shape of a room is, there is a certain personality. So let's suppose there is a bathroom, not very big, smelly and so on. So there is a certain personality to the bathroom, and he says, I'm a bathroom. So if an interview is given, how do you like your... He says, I don't like it. It's very smelly from time to time. And I want to be, what I really want to do is to be a kitchen. It smells better, it's bigger. Okay, so you sure? But you know something? You're already total space. He says, that I don't understand. All I want to do is to be a kitchen. He says, no, the kitchen also is just a limited one. Why do you want to be from one limited one to another limited one which may be slightly bigger? He says, no, don't ask me about these kinds of things. Can you just make me into a kitchen? So, this is all these people, they tear down the walls, and my younger son and his wife just did that. They had a room, they bought an older home that was all segmented into small things, and they really done a great job. They've taken all the walls out, now they're bigger rooms and so on. So that can be done. So the bathroom becomes a kitchen. And after a while, it says, you do the interview and says, Mr. Kitchen, how do you feel? It's okay, I'm better, but this hall, this prayer hall, that is a better place. And I wish I was that. So you tell the same person, see, the essence of the bigger hall is the same as the essence of you. It is space, and the walls are not you. They are enclosures. They are upadhis. We'll talk about upadhis later. So he says, no. Don't give me all these theoretical things. I just want to be a hall. This is the situation. So why go to a teacher? This was the original question. The need to go to a teacher is, no matter what you do, you always think in terms of being a limited person. And no one else except a live human being who knows and who you have some respect for can look into your eyes and say, "What are you talking about? You are the very thing you are seeking." And so this requires a very interesting situation. First of all, you need to have a wise person that you respect. That's not easy to find. And it requires you who's qualified to understand if the wise person points out the fingers to you. Both have to be done. Only then this problem is solved. This is why you need to go to a teacher. And we just pick up a book, and so what will happen is that there is a limited book and a limited human being, and the limited book and the limited human being don't cancel each other out. They stay within limitation. This is the essence of it. Besides, you can try it, it doesn't work. No one has become free by reading books. It just does not happen. Even if it should happen, but it doesn't happen. Actually, it should not happen, as we've already seen. But even if it should happen, it doesn't happen. This is why in the Vedanta they say, please find a guru quickly if you're ready. Quick. Don't waste any time. And it's getting difficult. I just got a query from a gentleman in Seattle, and he said that I've heard of you, and I'm looking for a guru, and I would like to talk to you about being my guru. So I said, "Where are you from?" So I called him. He says, "I'm in Seattle." And he had lost his wife for some, I think either an accident or so, I forget what. And so he's a single dad for a 6-year-old girl, and in Seattle. And he's been studying, and he now knows that he needs a guru. So I had a long talk with him, and I said, "Who have you studied with? What's been happening?" and so on. He said, very fortunate that he's been studying under Swami Paramarthananda's lectures from Chennai. It's a beautiful thing. He's a very, very evolved person. He's a Mahatma. So, and he said, I really wanted to meet with him. And so recently I went to Chennai to meet with him, with Swami Paramarthananda. He just met him he called me 2-3 weeks ago, and he had just been there a week ago before that. So I said, yes. So he said, I approached Swami Paramarthananda and asked him to be my guru. So Swami Paramarthananda had the same conversation like I did. Where are you? What is your situation? This, that, or the other. So he said, my dear, here's the thing. The modern day guru is not the same as it used to be before. Because to make a guru means you have to go someplace and live with a person for a length of time. This is why an ashram life is very important. Because this is what is called, what is it called? Antevasinaha. It's called Antevasinaha. Antevasina means one who lives very close by. You have conversations every day. You talk to the person. This is the traditional guru-shishya relationship. So this is for me Paramarthananda telling him. So that made my job a lot easier. So he said, it's not possible to do that anymore. But, having said that, now we have new technology that removes some of the problems. What that means is you have at least an audio and preferably a video. And that approximates it quite a bit, because you can feel the emotions of the teacher, the arguments of the teacher. You can see it, and you can at least occasionally meet the person, talk to him. He says, that's best we can do. And he says, that seems to work. It works. So he says that I don't recommend that you move to Chennai. You just stay where you are. And then I think he had said that there are some local teachers. He might have mentioned my name. And so he says that try to develop a relationship. And so this is what it is. So when you have to find a teacher, we have to find the right person to study. And there are so many good teachers now, really. It's those days are gone where they were a lot. But then you have to also understand who's. The main thing is you should understand the sampradaya. The sampradaya means that the Advaita Vedanta should be there. Which means what? Know things about yoga, meditation, bhakti, this, that or the other. Study, do vichara. All these other things, studying, etc., equip you to be able to sit down and ask the right questions. Why am I feeling not good? What is the reason for it? And is it because I'm not doing viveka? Is it because my vairagya is not complete? All of that vichara has to be done. So everything else, studying books, talking to the gurus and so on, all that acquires, all that does is to acquire you with the ability to think yourself. That alone will solve your problem. Nothing else will solve the problem. Don't take my word for it. This is what I've learned from the Mahatmas after a long study. So this is the situation. Why approach a guru? And this is, I think, Swamiji has also given some ideas on this. So you can study that. Okay. Then, I think the importance of the gurus or the students' right attitude is fairly obvious, that you need to have a shraddha in somebody. This is actually an interesting problem, because we all have grown up in our own way, having acquired knowledge, some capabilities, and that means it is associated with my feeling who I am. You can call it ego, whatever it is, you have a certain sense of where you are. Now along comes a teacher who seems to be saying the right things, but then you have doubts. Is this person really any better than what I am? Does he really know? Should I abandon my thinking towards what this person is saying? And that is not easy, because the ego says, I'm not sure. Test him. See what I don't know whether he is happy or not. That's another thing. So all those doubts come in. And so in terms of the context of this, the right attitude is, yes, there seems to be something very interesting being said, more than what I have done, something new, something more glorious, and let me submit myself to this person. So this is the importance of the student's right attitude on page 42. The next subtopic on page 45 is the knowledge of the self is most exalted amongst all forms of knowledge. So this comes from the two words varishtham and nigudham, or from the verse. So these are, Swamiji has done a great job in writing it pretty much close to what the, which is what is done. Your commentary should be very close to what the verses are saying. So there it was, going back to where is it? Yeah. Adhihi bhagavo brahma vidyam varishtham sada sadvihi sevyamananam. Then yaya achirat sarva papam, sada sadvihi sevyamananam nigudham. Nigudham means secret. And varishtham means the best. So this is a very fascinating way of looking at the way the Ishvara's creation is. That the best knowledge is so secret that it is difficult. It seems very difficult to find. Very secret. Where is it secret? If you understand this, we've already talked about it, but let me say this. It is a secret because you are taking the acquisition of the Atma as apraptasya praptihi, natu praptasya prapti. As a result of this mistake, you are outward bound, looking for experiences. When in fact you are the very giver of the experiences and you do not realize it. There's a very famous story which you must have all heard, but Swami Dayanand just told us this is a classic story, very beautiful. So the story goes that there was a very good diamond merchant that used to travel between Mumbai and Surat. Surat is the place where they do all the diamond processing and so on. So this guy would go back and forth in a train and he would carry all the diamonds with him. So there was a very skillful thief that observed this guy. He just kept observing him. How often does he go back and forth? How does he travel? Where does he get his ticket from? He just kept thinking about it. Finally, he said, so there was, this in Indian Railways, they have this coupe. Coupe means there are two people. First class, two people. One upstairs, one downstairs. Coupe. So this diamond merchant got one of the seats and this thief got the other seat. And started to talk to him. How are you? What are you doing? This, that or the other. Waiting for him to go to sleep at night. And when he's deep at sleep, it's a very short, he only has one box, So before they went to sleep, they both went to the bathroom to change in their pajamas. So first the thief went, and then after when he came out, then the diamond merchant went and came out. And they both put the lights on, good night, and went to sleep. So when the diamond merchant was asleep, this guy said, okay, this is my chance. So he started to go through his luggage. And he couldn't find anything. His only clothing, toothbrush, this, that or the other. There's no diamonds anywhere. And there was a handbag. He went through the handbag, went through the whole thing, and there was nothing else. And he knew that this is a diamond merchant that carries millions of rupees worth of diamonds every time. He says he's got it, but he's frustrated. In the morning, they both went to the bathroom again, changed again into their other clothes and so on. And now the station is approaching near Surat. And this guy said, "Sir, you know who I am. I am one of the most skillful thieves ever." So the guy said, "Do you think I don't know that?" He says, "Okay, tell me where did you put your stuff?" He says, "Under your pillow. When you went to the bathroom, I put it under your pillow. You searched all over. You searched under my pillow. You searched on my bed, blanket, box, handbag, everywhere. You did not look at it." He said, "Oh my God, so stupid of me." This is Swami Dayanandaji's story. It's a very famous story, really. This is talked about very much in one form or the other. There's a lot of forms of this. This is talked about. Believe it or not, this is our situation. That we're looking for happiness because our basic method is apraptasya prapti. Because I'm only used to trying to get things that I don't have. I never even think about the fact that I already have it. And I don't know where to look. So this is what is called nigudham. By the way, these concepts are, you'll find it everywhere. You will see in all the places, they'll say, deep in your own heart. The Atma is in deep in your own heart. Means that it is something which is you, but you make a mistake about it. And so that is the all forms of knowledge. Okay. So that is given in that page 47. The knowledge of the self is most secret. And I think he might even have the same example here, if I recall. Yeah, possibly. There's a very important point that I want to make. I wonder if I should stop, because that is probably one of the most important points that well, let me do it, and so we can even go past 5 minutes, because I think the puja doesn't start until 12:15. So if we have to go through, this is a crucial point. Being a very crucial point, it is something which is so subtle that generally it is not appreciated. This is I want to tell you something. This is, if there was one thing that I could communicate to you, this would be it. So please listen to this very carefully. All of us are in search of what is called Brahman. You can call it Ishvara, you can call it Paramatma, whatever. But whether we express it or not, we are all seeking Brahman. And I'm using the word Brahman very carefully because I'll define it later, but as a name, think of it as Brahman. What Brahman means is a sense of completeness, lacking nothing, lacking and independent of any conditions, independent. Not even being, imagine what that means. Independent of even time, not subject to time. None of us really want to disappear. No, absolutely no way. And exactly this is the reason why, it's very funny if you look at the situation. That we all, most average person that we see knows that he or she is going to die. But they don't want to die. You know the next best thing that they do is to leave a lot of pictures behind them. Everybody, people are silly. Whenever there is a picture going on, they say, I want to be in there. It's very silly, honestly. You know what the reason for that is? That if I am not alive, at least my memory will be alive. This is the silliest thing ever. Who cares if you're not there? But no, at least I take a little satisfaction in the fact that my grandchildren will see me in a picture, not see me in person. My God. So anyway, so this is the situation. We are seeking Brahman. And what is the definition of Brahman? Who's independent of time. Independent of time. Independent of space. It's not as though available here, not available there. And the best thing, and then the most important thing, who's satisfied and happy. This is the definition of Brahman, which is also called Satchidananda. Sat, Chit and Ananda. Sat means independently true without any conditions whatsoever. Okay? So, I want to be like Brahman. I want to be Brahman. This is what we all want. Okay? Now, where will we find Brahman? This is the question. Is it in the form of Shiva, Vishnu, Rama, Krishna? Should I have a darshan of that person? What will do? Supposing Krishna was around, would you meet him? So what happens then? You are still a person separate from Krishna. Well, if I go to heaven, perhaps I could become, and this is what is done. This is the teaching, that if you go to Vaikuntha, you go to all these places, you can be very close to Ishvara, you can be just chipto with him all the time. You'll get bored. You'll say, in the morning I see Krishna, evening I see Krishna, next day I see Krishna, don't I want to see something else? Nothing is going to work. So you want to be Brahman. You want to be the completeness. You don't want to be near a completeness. That's our secret. We want that. Now, given that, this is the thing. So this is an important thing. Not many people will tell you this. This comes from years of study and following and understanding and so on. Do you have any chance of getting that completeness later? Any chance? Do you think that completeness is not here right now? So what that means is the search for completeness must start with you now. You are already Sat. You are already complete. It is praptasya prapti, natu apraptasya prapti. And in fact, I'll just close this segment and we'll revisit it. Okay, this is a very important thing for us to see. Everything that you aspire for requires a method, what is called pramana, a proof, a method. Everything, whatever you want to do. There is only one thing that does not require any method, any pramana, which is you. If you want to find out what diseases you have to go to a doctor. If you want to know how long you have to live, you can go to these Jyotish people. You want to see how long your health would, you can go to Ayurvedic. Some pramana is necessary. You go to a doctor and the nurse will immediately ask you, why are you here for? This is very interesting. Just last week, my doctor said, I need to see you. Okay, you have some problems with you. I've done some blood test. Please come and see me. Make an appointment. So I made an appointment to go there, and the nurse says, why are you here? I said, I don't know. The doctor asked me. She said, but still you must have something. So I had to make up something, So silly. So I had to do this. Suppose you go to this nurse and she says, why are you here? And you say, am I? Am I? So she says, are you what? You say, no. I don't want any. Am I there or not? Am I? So am I am, doesn't require any proof. And in fact, that I am is the only thing that does not require any proof. Even God requires a proof. Ishvara requires a proof. Everything requires some proof. You don't require a proof. So the search for completeness starts with you, because you are the only thing which is independent of time. You are. Not your body, not your diseases, not your mind, not your senses, not your sense of being alive, but you. You are always there. You don't require a proof. Think about it. This is the, so I'm telling you, all the Mahatmas say, please start the search for Ishvara by studying yourself. And Swami Akhandananda actually describes this. He says, I have so many times people will come and say, I want to understand God. I want to see God. So he says, have you examined yourself completely? He says, no, but I'm not really all that important. I'm the one who really needs help. So I want to see God. So he says, have you completely seen where your God is? Well, he says, not here. God is not here. Must be elsewhere. He says, how do you make that conclusion? He says, well, that's, because I'm unhappy. So God cannot be here. Must be someplace else. I want to go there, where I'll be happy in the presence of God. So he says, have you not looked at your own self? He says, I don't know what to do. He says, you have to start there. You have to start. It is a very interesting thing. So a lot of the Swamis used to say this, a very beautiful thing. You start with yourself, and after completing the search, you come back to yourself. You start with it, but the start is full of doubts. But the start is with you. And then after examination and clearing doubts and so on, you find, oh my gosh, this is what I was already. This is what I was saying about all these people who say they feel foolish. When that passport was lost, it was already with me. And I'm searching all over, and at the end of that, it is me alone that had it. So there it was a question of passport that you possessed. But here it's not a question of a passport, it's a question of me. Not a question of what I have, but what is my own nature, what is my swarupa. So the consciousness is not a guna, it is a swarupa. That's why the word, I think I've said that in my classes, that I don't like the word consciousness. Because the very word consciousness means it's a quality. Consciousness is not a quality. In fact, Swami Akhandananda uses the word jnanam. Because as we will see, as we proceed, we haven't even gone to that part yet, my nature is jnanam. I know. Knowledge. This is what means sat and chit, both. Anyway, so the search for God really begins with the search for myself. And it ends with myself. This is the funny part. We'll see that later. Om asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityor ma amritam gamaya. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadai Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.